The Little Things, out on HBO now, new crime thriller starring Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, and Jared Leto. Story takes place in 1990 in California. Denzel plays an aging cop working in a small Californian town. He's sent to LA to get some evidence back and drive back home. While there, he gets wind of an open case run by Rami Malek's character, this young up and coming detective. The case is a serial killer who kidnaps and tortures young women and murders them, of course. The case brings back Denzel's past. As it turns out, he also used to work in LA proper and had a similar unsolved case a couple of years back. And that case basically ruined him, caused his marriage and career to fail, and was the reason for his relocation to a smaller town. So now the two characters team up. Rami Malek wants to use the experience of the older cop, whereas Denzel wants to let his ghosts go to sleep finally. So the film definitely feels like a poorer version of Seven. I mean, there's tons of similarities. Serial killer case with atrocious crime scenes, two detectives working the case, a grizzled old black dude and a young naive white guy with a family, a high profile actor cast as the charismatic and intelligent main suspect, in this case Jared Leto, and also the final act taking us out to the desert. There are also traces of Destroyer here, the Nicole Kidman movie, in the way that it explores cops who get pushed over towards the dark side as a result of their circumstances. There's a lot of moral gray in terms of both characters here, but especially Denzel. In fact, the final act of the movie sort of switches its focus suddenly from the crimes themselves to the question, how far is too far? Are the actions of the police guys justified, or have they crossed the line? Which leads to, honestly, a quite thought-provoking ending. Overall, there's quite a bit of tension, and the story has a decent flow to it, but I did call it a poor man's Seven for a reason. I do think that for a movie this similar in its structure, it is painfully obvious how much more flawed and inferior it is. I thought that the character work certainly isn't perfect. Denzel is fine, but Rami Malek's performance was somewhat unconvincing to me. And having thought about it, I do think that the reasons are largely the writing and the characterization. I still find it difficult to describe exactly what kind of person he's supposed to be, which is a problem when he's one of the main characters of the movie. Jared Leto's character also felt a little bit off. In this case, I bought the performance. It's certainly a committed one. For instance, Leto even has this very weird characteristic walk that he does. But I had some issues with the writing again. At one point, I couldn't understand the motivations or goals of this guy, and it felt like in the end he is reduced to being a narrative tool in the third act, a reason for the things in the end to happen the way they do. He sort of lacks agency, or rather logical agency. So at the end of the day, it is still an okay movie. It's not great, but it's not terrible either. It's fairly engaging, has an interesting story, and a great ending, honestly, even if some of the details don't quite click.